Yo, what is going on, guys? Digrex here, and today I'm coming at you with a brand new video. And in today's video, we are going to be comparing the Breakneck to the Recluse. These are both Pinnacle weapons. The Breakneck is a Pinnacle weapon for Black Armory for Gambit, and the Recluse is a Pinnacle weapon for Crucible for this new season of the Drifter. So we both got both of our Pinnacle weapons, and this weapon is super good. The Recluse is super good in Crucible, like it's intended to be, but it's also super good for PvE and ad clearing and stuff like that. So we have two weapons that are really good for ad clearing, two different ways to grind and go after them. So in this video, I'm going to be comparing them, and I'm going to be telling you which one I would recommend grinding for, because they both are different at ad clearing in their own way. They're both decent at ad clearing in their own way, but they are different types of weapons. This is an auto rifle, this is a submachine gun, so they're not totally different, as they're both fully automatic weapons. But the Breakneck has Rampage, which is his normal perk, and then of course it has its special perk, Onslaught. This weapon's rate of fire increases as you stack Rampage. So as you know, you can stack Rampage up to 3 stacks, and once it is at 3 stacks, it absolutely shreds enemies because you're doing extra damage with the Rampage, and then you are firing super quickly, so it absolutely just tears through enemies. The Recluse, on the other hand, has Feeding Frenzy. Kills with this weapon increase reload speed for a short time, as well as Master of Arms. Kills with this weapon improve this weapon's damage for a short time. So this is just kind of like a better Rampage, really. You only have to get 1 kill and it lasts for 5 seconds, which is pretty decent. So now the Recluse is, this Master of Arms makes the Recluse pretty damn powerful at close range in PvE. You can absolutely tear through ads, and when you have Master of Arms activated, you can even tear through or do some nice DPS to more powerful enemies. Note that both these weapons get increased reload speed when you have the perks activated, so the Breakneck can reload quickly, as well as the Recluse. Talking about mod wise, each weapon needs a different mod. I don't have the Rampage spec on the Breakneck, but basically the Rampage spec just makes Rampage last a little longer, because if you don't have Rampage going on the Breakneck, it's actually not that good. It's pretty bad, actually. So the Rampage spec lets Rampage last longer, so you don't lose your stacks of Rampage. For the Recluse, I have the Counterbalance stock on right now, which just reduces recoil, which is normally good for submachine guns, because this thing is pretty good in PvP, and I like the Counterbalance stock in PvP. Although it could use something like a backup mag to increase magazine size, just so you can keep on spraying. So let's get into the comparison. So the way that you get either of these weapons is quite different. With the Breakneck, it is through Gambit. You need 40 Gambit matches, you need auto rifle kills, you need auto rifle multi-kills, things like that. Honestly, the longest thing about this grind is just completing the matches. If you just use an auto rifle, it won't even take you half the matches to complete your other objectives. So it's really just completing 40 Gambit matches. For the Recluse here, you need to get to Fabled rank, and you need a certain amount of wins. But by the time you get those wins, you will have reached Fabled rank. So basically, the Recluse, I just look at reaching Fabled ranked. So 40, basically it just comes down to 40 matches of Gambit versus reaching Fabled ranked in PvP. That's the way I like to look at it, because you will complete your other objectives on the way. So we are going to start with the Recluse. The Recluse, like I said, you basically just need to reach Fabled rank in competitive in the Crucible, which isn't the hardest of tasks, especially for a player who's just decent at Crucible. You don't need to be super good at Crucible. You don't need to be crazy like on a pro team or anything like that. You will get it eventually, as long as you're just decent. So I did it as a mix of solo queue and duo queue. I would obviously recommend having a fuller team, but it is definitely doable just solo queuing, because you'll most likely get matched against other solo queuers. The matchmaking system is actually pretty good with that. You most likely won't encounter any 3 or 4 stacks as long as you're solo queued. You might get an occasional 2 stack, but really no more than that. And the reason I really like the Recluse, even in PvE, is because you only need to get 1 kill until it's at its full potential, and Master of Arms lasts pretty much the same amount of time as Rampage, and then of course you reset Master of Arms every time, so it's not as big of a deal. as when you lose your 3 rampage stack, because Master of Arms you only need 1 kill to get back, whereas Recluse you're going to need to get 3 kills just to get it to its max potential, and then you need kills to continue to keep it there. So you're always kind of pressured with the Breakneck, which might lead you to make more volatile plays. It might lead you to make overly aggressive plays just to try to keep your rampage. Whereas with the Recluse, the Master of Arms perk, it is pretty damn easy just to keep in check. And of course the Recluse is a submachine gun, which means you'll get better hipfire accuracy with the sacrifice of a little less range. Although Breakneck's range is not that great to begin with, so it's not really like you're sacrificing too much, just because Breakneck also isn't that great on range. So like I just said, the Breakneck is also a fairly close range weapon, and to get it to its max potential you need 3 stacks of rampage. Although part of me does not like this as much, just because once you reach 3 stacks of rampage, there's no other enemies to kill. You lose your stacks of rampage, and the weapon is very, very, very bad without your stacks of rampage, in my opinion. It is pretty awful. So I really, really like the base version of Recluse better, because even Recluse can kill your normal enemies a lot better than the base Breakneck does. So the base Recluse is a lot better than the base Breakneck, in my opinion. And honestly, this is probably just because of weapon stats. I mean, SMGs melt at close range. The Breakneck does not melt as well at close range. It's got a little more range, but even then it's not that great. So in my opinion, it's either easier to get the Breakneck started up again when there's dry spots, or maybe something weird's happening, like an Arc Soul is stealing your kills, or your teammates are stealing your kills, and you just can't get that weapon started up again. It could be hard to get the Breakneck back to 3 stacks of rampage. Whereas Recluse, it is super easy. It's way less pressure to get the weapon to its max performing status. And the Recluse absolutely shreds through people at closer range. And what I like about the Master of Arms perk is that it lasts 3 seconds. With the Rampage spec on the Breakneck, Rampage will last longer, but I find a lot of the time my Rampage runs out when I'm trying to burst down a heavier enemy like a Knight or a Captain or something like this. Whereas with the Recluse, a lot of the times at close range, I can actually end up tearing through that high value target or getting close. But with either gun, if I don't end up tearing through that more powerful target, the Breakneck, I only need 1 kill to get it back to its max potential, or the Recluse, I only need 1 kill to get it back to its max potential, where the Breakneck, I need 3 kills to get it back to its max potential. So it makes me not want to go after these more powerful targets with the Breakneck when my gun is hyped up. With the Recluse, it makes me want to go after these powerful targets and melt them down at close range. For PvE, I think I really like the Recluse better, because both weapons you're going to be using at closer range, as Breakneck doesn't have the best range either, and it's much lower pressure, because you only need 1 stack rather than 3, so you don't need to worry about dry spells, because the Breakneck is pretty damn bad when you don't have your Rampage active, as well as the Breakneck also relies on the Rampage spec mod a lot, and if you can't get one of those to drop, like me, then it becomes a much less superior weapon, whereas the base Recluse is just pretty decent, and you can use things like backup mag to increase the magazine size, stuff like that, just to improve the weapon. With Rampage spec, the Breakneck is much better, and I might reevaluate once I get the Rampage spec, but unfortunately I think the Recluse just beats it in PvE. In PvP, I'm not even going to include gameplay, because straight up Recluse is better. Recluse just destroys in PvP. The Master of Arms perk is so good in PvP. The Breakneck, really, you're never going to be able to get it fully revved up. You're never really going to be able to get the Rampage 2 stack to 3 in PvP. It's just not going to happen. And the base auto rifle is just so crappy. It's crappy in PvE and it's crappy in PvP. And you will struggle with it just because auto rifles just aren't in that good of a place right now. And it's going to be near impossible just to outgun something like an Ace of Spades, Last Word, Thorn, or any of those higher quality pulse rifles such as the Bygones or Blast Furnace. It's just going to be near impossible to compete with those weapons in PvP with the Breakneck. The Recluse, on the other hand, can compete with those weapons quite nicely, especially with the Master of Arms perk activated. Overall, these are both pretty intensive grinds. The PvP one for the Recluse, I think, takes less time actually. But if you're not good at PvP, if you're not interested in Crucible, which I know a lot of players aren't right now, I think the Crucible is pretty balanced, and I still enjoy the Crucible a lot. I would recommend the Recluse for you a lot. If you don't like Gambit, then the Recluse is definitely for you. The Breakneck is a lot easier to achieve. It doesn't really rely on your wins or your losses, so it's just kind of grinding through Gambit games over time, or in just one fell swoop if you really want to do it like that. Breakneck's definitely easier to grind for, but it is more time intensive. The Recluse I like overall. I think the Recluse is the better weapon. I think it's better in both PvP and PvE. In fact, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I know I'm not saying that the Breakneck is bad by any means. Both these weapons are spectacular weapons. I just think the Recluse is better to grind for if you're a more casual player, or if you just don't have that much time to play Destiny. Recluse is easier to grind for, in my opinion. You can probably get a team together, or if you're not that great at PvP, the Recluse might be the harder option. Like I said, it's just less time consuming, so if you're somebody who doesn't play a ton per week, then the Recluse is definitely for you. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know how you think I compared these, if you think I compared these fairly or not. I'm obviously a little biased towards the Recluse. I think the Recluse is better, but let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Neither of these weapons are bad. Both of them are great Pinnacle weapons. Probably a little overpowered even, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This has been DigiRex. Peace.